question is, what the hell is going on in this town?
Margot and Tilly go on their first date. Henry drops a bomb on Jacinda, and Rumple is back at odds with Regina. Let's break down Season 7, Episode 18 of Once Upon a Time right here on What Happened. Hey, Oncers, Lisa here, and welcome to this week's Once Upon a Time recap all about The Guardian. Now, since possible Guardian candidate Anastasia returned home, Rumple now turns back to his original candidate, Alice, and we get to see just how far Rumple will or will not go for that dagger in both the Enchanted Forest and Hyperion Heights, and they're quite different. In the Enchanted Forest, he decides to save Alice from being the Guardian because he sees she deserves love and a happy life, while in Hyperion Heights, Rumple steals that only bit of magic Regina has to fix Henry just to locate his missing dagger to find out he didn't even need to use the magic in the first place, and now Regina's pissed at him. Also in this episode, Tilly and Margot go on their first date, and it's pretty adorable. Plus, we not only get a Coco reference, but also 2 Star Wars references, which I love because I'm a big Star Wars fan, and that includes the Vader's chokehold and the classic spin on the I am your father line. So let's just break down the episode. First, let's dive into our Enchanted Forest storyline. We find Rumple at an ofrenda for Belle, the Coco reference, talking to a picture of her, giving her an update on Gideon. He's interrupted by a figure in the shadows, who of course is Dr. Facilier, who offers to help Rumple hear from the dead, but of course Facilier is really just after the Dark One's dagger and power. When Rumple isn't having it, Facilier tries to use his voodoo doll magic to kill Rumple, but the stabbing of the doll does absolutely nothing. That's when we get Rumple channeling Darth Vader to put Facilier in a chokehold, telling Facilier to tell him what Belle is saying if he can truly hear her. Facilier says that she says the Guardian must be pure of heart, so Rumple has to test Alice, but Belle says to hurry because there's still darkness in his heart, and without her, he'll succumb to his past. And sure enough, you can see the scales are starting to grow back on Rumple's hands. So Rumple sets out to test Alice, so he keeps an eye on her from the woods and sees Margot coming to exchange letters between Alice and Hook. Robin even gives Alice a cute bracelet like the kind that I used to make when I was in grade school, little friendship bracelets, and it's pretty adorable. In return, Alice gives Robin a good old pocket watch that runs backwards. As Rumple is watching, he ends up with a sword at his throat courtesy of Hook. Hook doesn't care that everyone thinks Rumple is changed because he still thinks Rumple's evil. Rumple tells Hook that Alice is the Guardian, but Hook won't let Alice take Rumple's place because she deserves a normal life, and Hook tells Rumple to just leave. Well, Rumple doesn't listen and goes to see Alice again, this time actually entering her home, and he pretty much tricks her, saying that Facilier has the magic they need to reunite her with Hook, and Rumple has a plan to get it. So they head to Facilier's house, and she ends up grabbing his heart, but she just can't bring herself to crush it, and she runs away. Now Rumple has to do damage control and tells her that she's the Guardian he's looking for. Rumple returns to Belle's ofrenda, and Alice shows up asking about Belle and saying that just like Belle, Robin was the first person to see something in her. Now Rumple and Alice talk some more, and now Alice is ready to do what he needs her to, so they let the dagger take over, and as the dagger flies to Alice's hands and the transfer of power starts, Rumple sees the bracelet that Robin gave Alice on her wrist and hears Belle's voice telling him that he's a good man with a pure heart who will find the answers he needs to get rid of the dagger and get back to her. Now Rumple just can't bring himself to continue, so he stops the transfer and explains that he doesn't want to give Alice that burden because immortality is actually just another tower, and she does not deserve to be with any towers anymore. She deserves better than that, including to grow old with someone she loves. He tells Alice he'll just find another way, as we see his body has gained more scales. Alice knows Rumple is a good man, and she promises to not let him forget it, and she even relays that information to Hook. Winter has now arrived, and Rumple's once again spying on Alice, who is having a visit. Hook shows up to thank him for what he did for Alice. Hook has changed his tune, and now he owes a great debt to Rumple, and the two shake hands and become friends. Moving on to Hyperion Heights, our budding romance between Tilly and Margot continues. Tilly is drawn at the troll bridge when Margot appears and says they're spending one day together like a date, and they end up showing each other their favorite parts of Hyperion Heights. Tilly's favorite place is a good old bookstore where it helps her feel like she can go anywhere, just like how Margot's actually gone and traveled everywhere, and has an armful of bracelets to prove it. Margot actually ends up finding a bracelet at the counter, which is just like the one from the Enchanted Forest, and she gives it to Tilly. But just as Margot is about to put it on Tilly's wrist, the buzzing in Tilly's head that she heard earlier in the episode returns, causing Tilly to bolt out of the store. Later, Margot's drying cups at Ronnie's when Tilly walks in with her own candy-covered concoction to apologize for running out, and she explains to Margot that she sometimes has good days and sometimes has bad days, but never knows what kind of day it will be, and sometimes she thinks her bad days are just too much for some people. Well, they're not too much for true love, and they're not too much for Margot, and she ends up putting the bracelet back on Tilly's wrist, They brush hands, have a moment, and share a drink, and I just honestly think that these two are really cute together, so still hoping for a spin-off of these two somehow. Next up, Rumple and Rogers discover Nick is dead, and Rumple finds a remnant of voodoo doll on the floor, and he knows just who did this deed, so he sets off to find Facilier because the dagger's also missing, while Rogers stays at the station to watch over surveillance footage. Rogers checks out some pictures from the bank cameras across the street at the same time of Nick's death, and in those pictures is none other than Drew. Henry then shows up wanting to talk to Nick, and he learns that Nick is no longer with us. So then he asks to tag along with Rogers to Nick's apartment because Nick showed him something that he thinks might explain things for him. So at the apartment, Henry ends up finding the test results that said he's father of Lucy. As they're at the apartment though, they hear breaking glass and someone runs out and tackles Rogers and then tries escaping the apartment, but is chased down and tackled by Rogers, and it's none other than Drew. Drew just insists he's one of the good guys, but Rogers knows he has something to do with Nick's death because he was in the pictures. Drew says that he was in the apartment looking for something to maybe protect himself because he's in danger in the same way Nick was, all because of none other than Samdi, aka Facilier, who killed Nick and is powerful in ways that Rogers cannot imagine. Rogers asks Drew to tell him, so Drew tells Rogers to look closely at the medical examiner's report on Nick because that's just the tip of the iceberg. Rogers does take a close look at that medical report and shows it to Henry, and just like Drew says, it's something pretty damn crazy. It says Nick died from a single stab to the heart from the inside. Now Rogers is just like, what the hell is going on in this town? And honestly, it's about damn time, Rogers. Henry is also believing more and more, and he goes to see Jacinda and shows her the test results, which he did confirm as real with the hospital, and says that Lucy's been right the whole time. And then we get to see his version of the classic Star Wars "I am your father" quote, this time though saying "I am her father." As for Rumple, he is on a quest to find that missing dagger, and nothing's gonna stop him. His first stop is to see Regina, where he sees she has magic, which she tells him is a gift from Facilier. Well, Rumple throws some fuel on the flames, telling her that Facilier just used her and kept some of the magic actually for himself and killed Nick and stole the dagger, but she doesn't believe it. Rumple now wants Regina to give him the magic, but Regina is not giving it up and goes to see Facilier to get the truth. Facilier fesses up to killing Nick, but he insists he doesn't have the dagger, and Regina actually believes him. But of course, Rumple does not, as he emerges from the shadows after Regina leaves and overheard everything. Rumple really wants his dagger back and pulls a gun on Facilier to try to get answers, but Facilier tells Rumple that if he pulls the trigger, he won't ever get back to Belle. Rumple then wisens up, and Facilier uses his magic to transport Rumple back to his car. Even more desperate now, Rumple returns to the cellar at Ronnie's and steals the magic and uses it to locate the dagger, and the map brings him to the troll bridge. Tilly then walks up, and she's hearing that buzzing again, which she says is different this time and sounds more like a voice. He asks her when the noise started, and she says that morning, and then lo and behold, the dagger is pulled out of Tilly's bag, but she has no idea how it got there. Rumple says he knows how it got there because she's the guardian, and he's not angry with her, but angry with himself. He returns the dagger to the evidence locker, and then Regina shows up, pissed beyond belief because that magic he stole basically puts Henry back in danger. Rumple comes clean about Tilly being another guardian possibility and that she made sure the dagger was kept safe, which means he actually didn't even need to use the potion to find it, and he just wasted Regina's shot at saving Henry. So now her trust with Rumple is broken again, and she tells him that he hasn't changed and she is through with him this time. And it's like, ouch. And with that brutal exchange, the main events of this week's episode are over. Now, I don't know why, but part of me is kind of excited to see Regina and Rumple at odds again. I kind of always loved their interactions, so I'm excited to see how Rumple goes about making things right. And of course, what's he going to do with this whole Guardian issue? He definitely has to find another way to get rid of the dagger because he's still not going to put Alice, through being the Guardian. So what is the loophole? Is there another Guardian candidate out there? He knows he can't let Gothel or Facilier get the power, so he's got to think quick. Also, it's about time Rogers is really on the path to discovering what the heck is going on in this town and to hopefully being awake, and it looks like his life may be in danger in the next episode, so let's look at the promo for that.
Time has come for the Coven to return.
There is a war brewing, and no one in this city is safe. What if Lucy is right? What if my crazy book is real?
I just want to talk.
Why the hell would I want to talk to you?
Because I'm your mother.
Hey! Where are you taking her?
Don't worry, Detective. Tilly's not the one I'm going to hurt.
No!
Alright, Gothel's finally back in the picture, and she's holding nothing back, it seems like. And maybe Drew will end up redeeming himself and help take down Facilier and even Gothel. So, it's definitely time to round up the troops for some war in Hyperion Heights. And now it's that time to hit up the comments and let me know your thoughts on this week's episode. Do you have any theories about how Rumple can get rid of his dark powers and get back to Belle? Will Henry be able to find the solution to everything by looking in his book? Will Gothel or Facilier somehow end up victorious? Let me know all your thoughts and theories, and click right over here for some Descendants 3 casting news. I'm having trouble speaking today. What's wrong with me? I don't know, but subscribe if you like what you see. Hit that thumbs up. My name's Lisa. I'll see you back here again real soon.